Okay, we are waiting for people to arrive. But this is the Digit Squad weekly AMA, and today's AMA is about the OnePlus 8 series that was announced this week in the United States. It still hasn't come to India because of the ongoing lockdown, and it's just listed on Amazon. OnePlus has not revealed a date from when it will be available. It hasn't revealed the price also. So a lot of the things about the OnePlus 8 Plus in India is guesswork, but what is not is actually what the phone is like and how it looks and what sports. That part we have a fair idea about as of now. So I'm just going to wait for a couple of you guys more to join, and we're going to get this session started. I completely apologize for the poor video quality. I'm using the webcam on my laptop because there was some problem setting up the DigitSQUAD account on my smartphone. So I really had no other choice but to use a shitty webcam to do this live session. But I do have all the questions that you guys have asked, and I'll take my time and go through them and try to answer as many as possible in this session. So we're going to wait for a few people to arrive. The actual time that we had given was 4 p.m. and it's still there's still 4 minutes left to it. So we're going to wait, right? And I hope you guys are all staying indoors and not going out as much, and try to be safe. These are trying times. 2020 is turning out to be unlike anything that we have ever seen before, and it's important that you stay indoors and you stay safe. Now there are smartphones releasing, and we already have the OnePlus 8 series this week, and just a day after, we also got the new Apple iPhone. It's a budget iPhone, the iPhone SE 2020, that's going to replace the older iPhone SE that launched in 2016. And this one looks a lot like the iPhone 8, but has the internals of the iPhone 11 series, including the A13 Bionic CPU and a 12 megapixel camera that's most likely borrowed from the iPhone 10R. And this also has wireless charging and IP67 rating for water and dust resistance, glass on both sides, and a compact display. So the OnePlus 8 and the iPhone, it'll be a very interesting showdown, at least in the Indian market, and a lot of it depends on what's the price of the OnePlus 8 in India. iPhone is already Apple has already revealed the price of the iPhone SE 2020. It's going to start from 42,500 bucks in India. Excuse me, for the 64 GB variant, and yeah, the OnePlus 8, on the other hand, at least in the United States, it starts from $699. And again, going by the United States pricing, the dollar pricing of the iPhone, the OnePlus 8 is two times the price of the iPhone SE 2020. And I really don't remember the last time it happened that a OnePlus device is more expensive than an Apple device, right? So it's definitely something new, and that has definitely taken, I think, will take the young flagship smartphone segment by storm. And I'm hoping the iPhone SE 2020 will be in India, and it will be quite popular among the same people who opt for the OnePlus series, and primarily because of the speed it offers. And when it comes to speed, there isn't really anybody better than an Apple device. Not even OnePlus, if you ask me. If you look at how smooth all of it is and everything else. Now that we have some people here in our stream, I'm going to start with answering a few questions around the OnePlus 8 device. We already discussed the fact that they have launched in the United States and Europe. We got the pricing in China just today, and the pricing in India is still awaited. For people who are joining, welcome, guys, and we are in our weekly AMA session with Digit Squad members. And today's topic of discussion are the OnePlus 8 series that launched in the US and the UK via an online event just a few days back this week. And the very day after, we also got a new iPhone, and it's the budget iPhone SE 2020, and we're hoping that the OnePlus 8 is going to get some stiff, intense competition from a budget iPhone that also happens to be one of the cheapest iPhone actually out there right now. It is the most inexpensive entry to Apple's walled garden of iOS 13, and a good alternative to have those value flagships that have suddenly cropped up in the Indian market. Speaking of value flagships, we have Vipul Sathe asking us, are there any exclusive features in the OnePlus 8 series? There are a couple, and most of these exclusive features are in the OnePlus 8 Pro. And the OnePlus 8 Pro is the flagship out of the two. The OnePlus 8 is more vanilla, aimed at the regular users. The 8 Pro is basically for those who want the absolute cutting edge, the absolute best. You want so the exclusive features include a QHD plus display that runs at 120 hertz refresh rate. Yes, Samsung also offers the same configuration, but even Samsung couldn't let the display run at QHD plus resolution at 120 hertz refresh rate. So, as far as that configuration is concerned, the 8 Pro is the first to do it. Another first is the 30 watts wireless charging. Now, OnePlus had maintained all these years that they will only use wireless charging when it's up to OnePlus standards and it meets its need for speed, right? And the WAP 30 wireless charger that the OnePlus 8 Pro supports, and OnePlus is selling separately in a stand and a flat format, that delivers 30 watts of power through the charging deck to the OnePlus 8 Pro. And OnePlus promises around a 50% charge in half an hour, which is completely unheard of in the wireless charging segment and in the wireless charging devices. It still supports key standard, but OnePlus is using its own technology in the charger itself to keep the device cool while it's being charged with so much high power via induction. So that is primarily the reason why wireless chargers have not been able to increase the voltage and the wattage in wireless charging ports. But seems like OnePlus has found a way around it and managed to offer it in a super fast way to its users. So the OnePlus 8 is out there right now in the US and UK with a couple of exclusive features. Oh, also, this is the first OnePlus smartphone with an IP68 rating. The OnePlus 8, this time, OnePlus has gone completely towards the flagship side and included wireless charging and water resistance to let us shut up and accept that OnePlus is now a flagship brand and not much of a flagship killer. Now, Himanshu Parashar asks a very relevant question. He says, the can the iPhone SE 2020 emerge as a tough competitor for the OnePlus? That's what I've been saying all this while. I feel the iPhone SE 2020 is a more practical, no nonsense flagship device that just works. I mean, it offers nearly the same performance as an iPhone 11 device, which is still quite expensive, way more expensive than a OnePlus device, but in a more compact form factor. And as much as OnePlus likes to call the OnePlus 8 compact, the iPhone SE 2020 is the real compact flagship this year. The 4.67-inch Retina display is the same as the iPhone 8, and the last time I have used that device, I remember that the colors looked really nice, and even though it was a small display, I quite enjoyed playing a few casual games and watching a few movies on the go with the phone. But there's also a single camera at the back. It's a single 12 megapixel camera borrowed from the iPhone 10R. with the A13 also borrowed from the iPhone 11. So a lot of elements from the more expensive Apple device trickle down to the SE 2020 and may turn it into like a formidable budget flagship from Apple. Last year there was the Pixel 3a and 3a XL, but the performance of those two phones were still quite mid-range and average, so it couldn't really live up despite offering a great camera experience in that price range. We expect the SE 2020 to do the same with the 12 megapixel camera. It does come with a portrait mode that works the same way as it does in the iPhone 10R. In as the same way as iPhone 10R. In the same way that you can't take portrait photos of your pets, but only can shoot faces of people, right? And otherwise, let's see. Otherwise, there's still IP67 rating, which is not present in the OnePlus 8. It's only present in the more expensive OnePlus 8 Pro. And it has a glass sandwich design and a Touch ID enabled home button. When was the last time you saw that on an iPhone, right? But truth be told, both neither the OnePlus series or the iPhone SE 2020 still has a headphone jack. You do get a lightning based a pair of earphones out of the box with the SE 2020, but neither of them have a headphone jack, so it's better to use a wireless earphone while you're at it. So that I think that answers your question, Himanshu, that the SE 2020 will and I believe can pose a big threat to the OnePlus 8 series this year. And can we have a look at the phone? Adarsh Panda asks. Adarsh, we don't have the phone with us, unfortunately, because the logistics sector and all courier services and parcel delivery services, they're all shut as of now. So OnePlus has not been able to send us the device because of the lockdown. But we promise you, moment the day we have it in our labs, you guys will be the first guy to see it from us. He also asked how good is it against the Realme X50 Pro. The Realme X50 Pro is a pretty value for money device. When we got it in our labs, it was one of the first, if not the first, Snapdragon 865 device to land up in our hands. And compared and combine that with up to 12 GB of LPDDR4X RAM, UFS 3.0 storage, and a 90 Hz refresh rate display, there's a lot of similarities between the X50 Pro and the OnePlus 8 Pro. Even the screen design is the same. But the OnePlus 8 Pro happens to boast of a lot many more awards from DisplayMate, and it has an A plus rating, which the X50 Pro doesn't, sadly. And OnePlus did explain a lot of color science to drive home the fact that they have worked on the display a lot, and they want you to believe that this is a great display to play games on and watch movies and TV shows. The 120 hertz refresh rate is only there in the 8 Pro, and while the OnePlus 8 only gets a 90 hertz. So between the 8 and the Realme X50 Pro, I believe the X50 Pro will still be the cheaper option to go for, while the 8 will be slightly more expensive because of a fresher design and just OnePlus being OnePlus using the latest and the best materials. So that definitely adds on to the cost. But we still don't know the actual India pricing of the OnePlus 8. All of this speculation is based on the price in the US. But if you look at the price that OnePlus launched the OnePlus 8 series in China, which is what we tend to follow much more than the US pricing, then the OnePlus 8 is just 43,000 if you convert the China pricing into INR. It's at 4,000 RMB in China. And if you convert it in INR under the present exchange rate, it comes down to around 43,000, which is just a few I think $500 cheaper than more expensive than the iPhone SE 2020, and that calls for a great showdown in the market. And we are quite excited to know what kind of user you are, whether you prefer the iPhone SE 2020 for all the practicalities that offers, or would you prefer the OnePlus 8 for the cutting edge hardware that it offers and all that OnePlus is claiming in the devices? Um, Abuzar Sheikh is asking, is the phone worth the hype? Um, Here's the thing about OnePlus devices. OnePlus as a company lives on hyping up the few devices that they launch every year. So when before the OnePlus 8 even goes to the market, OnePlus has made sure that you know almost everything about the device even before you have held it in your hands. You know how it should work. You know the fact that it offers a lot of options when it comes to shooting and a great display and a good design. And you know for a fact that a OnePlus device will be fast no matter um, what OnePlus device we're talking about, be it the OnePlus 5, the OnePlus 6, the 70, the OnePlus 8, all of them have defined speed for a smartphone company going by for a smartphone company in the past few years, right? And definitely, I believe the OnePlus 8 can be worth the hype if you go by the if you manage your expectations a bit. I would say, right? Because OnePlus will obviously claim that this is the best that there ever is. The live event compared it with the iPhone 11 Pro, but reviews mostly from our international friends across the border have pointed out that the camera is actually pretty subpar, or not as good as they claim. I'm definitely keen on checking it out, and Indian conditions are always very different from Europe and US conditions. They have a lot cleaner skies. We don't. I mean, it's all the same right now, but when things get started, we tend to have more pollution. They don't, and that has an effect on your camera quality. And so it's important to also check out the camera performance in the Indian conditions before we give you a verdict. Now, will the OnePlus 8 receive GPU driver updates after the launch for gaming? Now, that's a very interesting question. Um, Qualcomm did announce that the Snapdragon 865 is capable of receiving GPU driver updates via the Google Play Store. And I think it has signed up the Google Pixel 4 in the US for the first series of updates. The OnePlus 8 did not feature in that list as of now, but when that news broke, the OnePlus 8 series was not out in the market yet. So we'll have to talk to Qualcomm about it and get you guys an answer, which I promise, excuse me, which I do promise to do sometime in the coming few days. Um, Next question is from Mohammed Zishan. Is it okay to buy the OnePlus 70 Pro instead of the OnePlus 8? You also have said in your question that you believe that they will be more or less in the same league in terms of pricing. The OnePlus 70 Pro was a good device. It wasn't much of a change from the OnePlus 7 Pro, but then it did add the 855 Plus and a couple more features. It's still one of the better devices to be there in the market, but I am not too sure of the phone's availability once the 8 Pro hits the market. So you do have to be you have to snag it right on time before OnePlus takes away the stocks. Otherwise, if you get the OnePlus 8, it's a pretty good device to have. You won't get the telephoto lens that you get in the 70 Pro, but you do get a pretty good ultra wide lens, a brand new Sony 48 MP sensor, and a macro lens, a dedicated macro lens at that, along with the 865. But between the 855 Plus and the 865, trust me, you won't really feel any difference in performance whatsoever. Um, how will the battery backup be? Kishore Kumar asks. Are Kishore? As I heard, OnePlus 8 will be equipped with a 120 hertz refresh rate display. That's a very good question, and we ourselves are keen on testing this part out. It's the first smartphone, the OnePlus 8 Pro. It's the first smartphone to support the 120 hertz refresh rate at quad HD plus resolution. Not even Samsung could do that, and there's no other device out there right now with 120 hertz refresh rate and the QHD panel together. So it's definitely a novelty out there, and it's bound to have some ramifications on the battery life, but OnePlus has also increased the battery capacity almost to 4500 mAh, and the warp charge 30T is just as fast as before. So combining the two, I'm guessing the drawback that you're expecting of running at 120 FPS at QHD plus won't be present as much. We expected the same from the OnePlus 7 Pro as well, and we did see there was a drastic difference when it came to keeping your refresh rate at the 90 hertz mark all the time. But with an increased battery size, I think that will be compensated to an extent. But don't expect like a full 1 day battery life and with that setting. Um, a lot of you guys have asked the features of the phone and how it compares to the S20 Ultra and the Galaxy and comparing with the S20 photos. So the comparisons will come when we get the devices in our hands. We will be checking the performance of the OnePlus 8 and the 8 Pro out against all the other present flagship devices. As far as the features of the phone are concerned, the OnePlus 8 is the younger of the two. It's the more vanilla option. The 8 Pro is the flagship variant. It's an out-and-out flagship device this time. No skimping at all that OnePlus did. The OnePlus 8 packs the 865. There's up to 12 GB of LPDDR4X RAM and up to 256 GB of UFS 3.0 storage. There's a 48 megapixel Sony IMX586 sensor along with a 16 megapixel ultra wide sensor, a 2 megapixel macro lens, a 4500 mAh battery. It's Gorilla Glass on both sides. It has those curved edges design. And what else am I missing? Oh, it has a punch hole camera up on the front in the top left corner that looks like a dead pixel when you're trying to play a game. There, said it. The OnePlus 8 Pro, on the other hand, is far more advanced. It also sports the same punch hole like design that also makes you feel like you have a dead pixel in a smartphone that will probably cost upwards of 50,000. And it has four cameras at the back, including two 48 MP cameras, one which is an IMX 689, which OnePlus claims is a custom chip developed just for them by Sony, and a 48 megapixel ultra wide sensor, which also happens to be the first. Right, Vipul, you had asked this question before. The exclusive features in the OnePlus 8 series. This is also one of them. That there is a 48 megapixel ultra wide camera for the first time on a smartphone. Other than that, there's also an 8 megapixel telephoto lens that delivers 3x hybrid zoom and another color filter lens, which is really interesting. It lets you take these interesting Instagram worthy shots that look completely different from your normal photos and adds all types of effects and filters that might do you some good, keeping you entertained for a few days. But I wouldn't really buy the phone just for that one lens. Um, yes, and it does have a bigger battery, a 4500-ish mAh battery. I can't recall the exact number, and a larger display. It has a 6.7-inch Super AMOLED, 120 hertz refresh rate, HDR10 plus display, which OnePlus claims is really accurate to in producing the colors as you see it with your own wide eyes. And what else? Oh, it does support 30 watts wireless charging. So I think that more or less combines most of the features, the primary features of the phone. There are a lot more, and for that you have the spec sheet to help you out there. Right. Is OnePlus becoming a flagship brand from a flagship killer? Akhil asks this question. Um, so it's kind of true. OnePlus has been operating as a premium smartphone brand. I wouldn't call it a flagship smartphone brand, but it's been operating as a premium smartphone brand as compared to a brand that takes pot shots at the premium phones and try to prove that okay, this can be done in a lot more less cost and in a lot better way. Right, that used to be the old OnePlus, but ever since I think the OnePlus 5 came out, it touched 30,000 mark, and things started getting more and more premium, culminating into the OnePlus 8 Pro, which is now as flagship as it gets. It gets your little things like wireless charging, it gets your IP rating, it gets few two 48 MP cameras, and a 120 hertz refresh rate display, and couple of and a QHD plus resolution screen. So it is an out and out flagship brand right now, but it is also offering a more vanilla variant of the 8 Pro, which is the OnePlus 8. But it remains to be seen just how affordable it will be this time because of the mandatory 5G certification, that 5G modem that Qualcomm is basically shoving down the throats of OEMs, and asking them to release phones equipped with 5G modems in regions which doesn't have 5G as of now. So that's a tragedy, but something that we will have to live with. Is the OnePlus 8 better than the Xiaomi Mi 10? Anurag asks. Well, the Mi 10 should have been here by now, if not for the coronavirus pandemic. Um, but it's not here. And as far as we know about the phone, it does offer a few new features like a 108 megapixel camera. So we will have to check out how those two stack up in a comparison when they launch. So we can't really say right now if it's a better phone than the Mi 10. Both of them look pretty impressive. Both of them share a lot of commonalities and come with their own exclusive features. Which one is better will only come out when we are testing. Why is the OnePlus 8 overpriced as compared to the 7T, and it doesn't have some minor improvement except processor and battery? Why is the OnePlus 8 price so high as compared to predecessors? A lot of few people think that the OnePlus 8 is overpriced. The thing is, the price has not been announced for India yet, so it would be wrong on our part to assume that it's going to be overpriced from the get go, because historically speaking, OnePlus has maintained a good 4,000 to 5,000 rupee gap in their US pricing and India pricing. As a matter of fact, the China pricing of OnePlus devices have been more in line with the OnePlus 8. And going by the China pricing of 3,999 RMB, that converts to around 43 grand in INR, which is not bad at all if you ask me. The new iPhone that came out is for 42,500, and for just 500 bucks more, you get a lot more modern features on a smartphone in the OnePlus 8 as compared to the iPhone. So it's again remains to be seen what the actual price of the smartphone is in India, but it will be too early to make the assumption it's going to be overpriced and won't offer much else other than like an expensive price tag. Daksh is asking about the cooling system. Again, interestingly enough, OnePlus doesn't really talk about a cooling system here. But given an X55 5G modem in regions where there's still 5G, it is expected that it's going to generate a lot of heat. And I am hoping that OnePlus have used generous and copious amounts of heat sinks and graphite sheets, my bad, to absorb the heat away from the internals and disperse it through the glass body. So there's not much of a special cooling system in the OnePlus 8 series as of now. Now that not that I am aware of, but I'll definitely look into it. Laksh is asking about the predicted India pricing. We just talked about it, Laksh. The predicted India pricing, if we go by the China price, it's going to be around 43,000 for the OnePlus 8 and around 53,000 for the OnePlus 8 Pro, which means that the 8 Pro is going to remain more or less similarly priced as before, but the 8 is going to see like a big price bump. Um, why? It's because of the 865 and the mandatory 5G modem, much better display with high refresh rate and a bigger battery, latest processor, more RAM, 12 GB of it, and whatnot. So you do have to expect some increase in speed, but how much remains to be seen. Now, is OnePlus 8 worth an upgrade from the 7T? How is the camera, front and back? Arpit Nagpal is asking this question. The OnePlus 8 does come across as a proper good value flagship to buy right now. Again, it depends on the price that it launches in, and the price again will decide whether this is an affordable flagship or this is a premium flagship, right? But as far as the 7T was concerned, the 7T was, in my opinion, probably the best device last year. It combined, like, the overall value proposition of the 70 was unheard of among any other phone last year, including the design, the display, the processor, the camera, the performance, all of it together. OnePlus 70 was one of the best to have. The OnePlus 8 also builds up on it. It shaves off a few millimeters of aluminum and makes it around 8 millimeter thick, and it packs a newer Sony sensor and the camera, and it has a punch hole camera design, letting you go bezel-less almost. Right. So in certain terms, it's still a newer device and hence better. But in everyday usage, I wouldn't really expect much of a difference in the two phones, if you really ask me. So. Would you go for a 70 or the 8? If the 70 is available, then yes, why not? Otherwise, the 8 would be pretty good to have, in my opinion. Is that 6.7-inch big size screen useful and handy? Why doesn't OnePlus make small screen phones that can easily be handled? Vaibhav is back again with a very important question, and I feel you, Vaibhav. I have been demanding a compact smartphone. I expected the Galaxy S10 E to fill that hole. It did not. Poor battery life, good cameras though. And I expected the Pixel 3a to do the same, but the performance left a lot for asking. The OnePlus 8, the company believes, is a compact device that they have made because of the bezel-less display and the slim profile. But trust me, the OnePlus 8 6.5-inch screen is not compact by any means. And forget the 8 Pro, it's 6.7 inches. That's like huge in your hands. But thankfully, it's not doesn't come with a lot of bezels, so it's still okay to see and hold. It's not as big as, say, like an old Mi Mix 2 or something, but it's still big. And if you're not very happy with large screen devices, you also have the iPhone SE 2020 to look at, which is basically a direct alternative to the iPhone, to the OnePlus 8 Pro. Um, this big screen device, everything new and latest in that, which is bound to work the best, versus a device that looks relatively older but packed with the latest hardware inside. So you have two completely different philosophies of approaching product design from Apple and OnePlus, and these two in the market is good for you, the consumer, because you will have a wide, probably the widest choice right now in any smartphone segment out there, right? Now, as far as large screen phones are concerned, I'm going to defend them, saying that being a gamer myself on smartphones, where I spend a lot of time in the day playing Call of Duty Mobile, a large screen does help. If you are into gaming or happen to watch a lot of movies and TV shows while you're commuting or on the go, or even when you're in the bed and you don't want to lug like a laptop with you to the bed, a big screen phone is the perfect for it. But if you also happen to be outdoors a lot and you travel in metros, buses, and you need a small phone for one-handed use with one hand holding like a rod or something to keep you standing safe, then a compact phone does come handy. And that's where compact phones shine. But unfortunately, the demand for compact phone itself, globally speaking, excuse me, uh, is not very much. So expecting compact phones from a lot of OEMs would be wrong. But we already have one in the form of the iPhone SE 2020, and that's going to make things really interesting. Now it's time we take up the last question of this session. My priorities are a great processor, cool display, and an overall nice experience. How is the OnePlus 8 Pro for me? How about any iPhone in this range? Um, your priorities are a great processor, a cool display. By that, I'm guessing the display that is modern or in vogue, and not has that, and not the one that has a cooler white balance, right? I'm hoping that, and an overall nice experience. And The three things that you ask for, the first phone that comes to my mind when I think of these three is an iPhone, right? The iPhone 10R, if you go for this in this price range, or even the iPhone 11 for the 64 GB variant, it's around 70 grand right now, and it's going to be a little more expensive than the 8 Pro in the market, but it's gonna give you the A13 Bionic CPU, which is the most powerful. It's gonna give you that iPhone 11 display, which is really same as the iPhone 10R, but a lot better than your average IPS LCD panels on smartphones. And you want an overall nice experience. But if you think about it, if you flip the coin a little, the 865 is a great processor also. Your cool display, I think a 120 hertz refresh rate, QHD plus resolution, and HDR10 plus certification does count as cool in your books. I'm hoping then yes. And an overall nice experience. Hey, we have Oxygen OS in the 8 Pro. So the 8 Pro can also work as a perfect phone for this question, and so does an iPhone. Now the iPhone costs a little more, and you're going to get a lot many years of support and slightly better components inside. But the iPhone 8 Pro will be a little cheaper, but a much more modern looking, and it comes with 5G, which if eventually it arrives, it's going to help you achieve those high speeds on your phone, right? So that's more or less it about the OnePlus 8 device. I had a lot of fun answering all the questions that you guys asked, and hope I have been of help to you guys. And we're going to catch you in another live AMA session with the squad members very soon. Thank you for watching. And oh, yeah, don't forget to stay safe. Do not head outside right now when the lockdown is still going on. April 21st is when your e-commerce websites are going to start operating, so you're going to start to get all your deliveries from Amazon, Flipkart, and everyone delivered to your homes. So you don't really have to go out and get that thing that you are craving right now. Just wait for some time, let this thing get die down a little, and then would be the right time to go out. So with that said, I am Shubhajit here signing out. We're going to catch you in another stream very soon. Thank you.